Hey guys, welcome back to Live Bold and Boss Up. It is your girls, Steph and Ash, and we're coming at you live from our brand new podcast room.
Can you hear the angels singing? But you'll be seeing more of this place, and we can't wait to reveal our new office once it's all done. But we're in here, and we're super excited. So,
I can't wait. That's going to be a fun one.
yeah, can't wait.
But this episode, let me share with you what we chat about, who we chat with. So we went to Bake More Pies to record with Cordes Owen. He's the CEO. And we recorded on their podcast room and their station. It's called Law of Relevancy. And gosh, that was so much fun doing it.
Loved it. They just have, Bake More Pies is not a pie shop. They're a marketing company, and they do much more than that. But so if you can imagine, they have the best setup, the best cameras, the coolest office. We were just in awe the whole time that we were there. So you have to actually watch this episode because everything is just top notch.
Yeah, we're taking notes for you guys, just in case. The ones that watch on video, I know it's just one camera angle, so we're going to get there. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
This is great.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to have you guys here. I've always, paid attention to what you guys are doing. I see it in my LinkedIn feed all the time. You're interviewing friends of mine, and totally have a lot of respect for the podcast that you guys have created. And I'm excited to have you here because, I want to learn from what you've learned about doing podcasting.
Thank you. Same. And I love your setup and everything. We always are like, oh my gosh, look at Cord's setup. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad you guys are here. Well, tell me, I would like to know, because you guys have been doing this for a few years now. Like, how long has it been?
Going on 4. This will be 4 years.
That's crazy. June. Yeah, when you put it that way. Yeah.
So 4 years, what inspired you guys to start a podcast?
You want to go there?
I'll take it. All right. So I guess initially, Steph and we met when we were cheerleading for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and us2 and our friends, we've all really always had this drive to create a business, create a nonprofit, create like a networking group, right? Because you're more powerful together, right?
No doubt.
Building something. And so once we started NextPath in 2018, 2020 happened, and not a lot of clients were hiring, of course, as everyone knows. And we were kind of like, oh, okay, this is a great time to start that other thing, right? And so we kind of ran across podcasts and figured that's a great way to get all this content out to everyone. Because at the time, we were talking to clients and candidates and saying the same thing about the market and what's going on and how to just catch everyone up on relevancy of the times. So we pushed it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we just started rolling with it. It was so much fun. And we just started talking to entrepreneurs and CEOs and just learning about their path, right? And how they got to where they are and learning from them, and it just ignited.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys are doing really great. I've seen you get a ton of listens. You've got great guests, and you're getting guests from all over the place, not just from the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, correct. We get a lot of referrals that way from, people all over that have a great story to share. And so we're always happy to have those people on to share their journey with everyone.
One of the things I really admire about you guys in your podcast is, and it's something I actually try to do here as well, is I'm really not trying to promote my day job so much. I'm just trying to really provide a platform for education, help people learn about the people who are here having this conversation. And, if it can build some trust, and people can see who I really am, and they're like, man, I want that guy to solve my problems. Then it might lead to business down the road. But what about for you guys?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. I think we did it more to help people in the masses get the word out on how to interview, how to find a job, and then kind of evolved having guests on and sharing their stories. But yeah, it's just because we wanted to ultimately help people, out there with different things, professionally and personally.
Yeah. It was truly like a genuine, let's help everyone out. I mean, it's like crisis time. Let's try to help people. How do you market yourself? How do you navigate through this market? And we were like, oh, and we actually recorded a couple podcasts or episodes, and we were like, wait a minute, nobody knows why we're doing this or who we are, and why are these two ladies like on here telling me how to market ourselves? So we're like, okay, let's share who we are and how do we meet and why we're here sharing this and why you want to listen to our advice, right?
Yeah, I love that whole story, and it's always like I had a guest about a month ago, and she's pretty prominent philanthropist in town, and she told me after she came on, because one of the things she wanted to explore was the possibility of doing podcasting, and she goes, Cordes, you wouldn't believe the feedback I've got. People I haven't talked to since like high school were calling me and telling me they listened to it and that they learned new things about me, and those moments for me are some of the times where I'm just like, man, this is cool. Like, this is totally worth it. And
100%.
anyhow, like I recommend it.
Yeah. Why did you start your podcast, and where did you get the name and everything for it?
So I thought about doing podcasting because in my day job, so to speak, one of the types of marketing we do is content marketing. And there'd been a lot of talk about live streaming. Like, live streaming was a brand new thing. I mean, we're talking like 8 years ago when I was first started dipping my toe in some of this technology of live streaming and everything else. And obviously this is live to tape, not live streamed right now. But the idea of capturing content via a video camera and a microphone was almost like this hack. Because when you ask somebody to write about, like, let's say you ask an attorney like people who are famous for being able to write in their career, ask them to write their About Us copy for their webpage, because they're the only ones that can write that, right? Well, they'll just sit there and they'll struggle and they'll think about it and they'll agonize over it. But if you sit down and have a cup of coffee with the person and you turn on the cameras and you start talking about, like, hey, why did you start this law firm? They can talk and they can talk and they can talk, and it's good. And so we learned that through the use of cameras and microphones in the right environment, the content creation becomes very, very easy. Now, of course, recently we all got ChatGPT last year, and so it got even easier. But this was a way to capture content at scale, and I wanted to just show my clients that it wasn't that hard.
I love that.
I love that too.
Which you brought up a good topic with ChatGPT. How has that changed in marketing? Like, not just how has it changed podcasting, but like your business in general?
Well, so this new type of AI is generative AI. It's a brand new thing that the world hasn't really seen before. I mean, I think it officially really hit the scene with ChatGPT 3.5 back in the fall of 2022. And then we all got ChatGPT 4 in March, like basically a year ago. And when I saw it and I was asking it questions about my industry, and then I was asking it questions about my clients' industries, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, this thing is going to be a massive game changer, because the ability for this tool, and when you understand like how it actually works, it makes a lot of sense. But it was this software that could understand with some context practically anything about a knowledge-based economy. Anything knowledge-based, whether you're an attorney, an artist, like songwriter, a marketer, somebody coming up with strategy, or any of those types of things. It was like massively impactful. And I knew in that moment, because I was like, wow, this thing does better than me in certain things about something I've been doing for 20 years. And I'm going, this is going to be scary. It's going to be massively disruptive. And so in those moments, you have a choice. You can ignore it and hope nobody else finds out about it. Or in my case, I was like, this is something that it's obviously going to replace some of the things I do, but I need to run right at it, and I need to be the best I can possibly be at it. And that's what we did.
I love it.
How does it pull its information? Is it pulling from the website or browsers?
So I actually learned how it works, where it gets its data from, by asking it. That was one of the first things I asked it. And what it does is there's a lot of public information out there. So like imagine like attorneys are going to be massively disrupted by this because, I mean, obviously a lot of them charge by the hour. And then every bit of case law is public.
Right.
Right? So there's nothing that prevents OpenAI or Claude or any of these others from training their large language model with all case law. Mm-hmm. Same with doctors. Doctors not only have the information published in journals that go back forever,
right,
but it's also organized in a scientific way. So it's actually very understandable. So any industry where the data is very well understood and it's accessible is going to just be massively changed.
No, so we better embrace it.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to embrace it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. It's very exciting.
I know.
So that's a little bit about like how I work. You asked me the question about the name.
Yeah.
I definitely believe in lifelong learning. I'm a super curious person, and I'm not watching, whatever the hot thing is on Netflix at night. A lot of times I'm watching YouTube videos about whatever's cool and interesting and happening, and so I'll just move in all different directions. But how about you guys? Like, tell me a little bit about what gives you your drive. I mean, being a performer, an entertainer for a professional sports team, that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah. It's a great question because I don't know what drives me. There's definitely a drive in the back here, like maybe it's a curiosity thing. Maybe it's like, for example, right, performing in front of thousands of people. And there was a big charity piece behind that too. Maybe it's just a passion, really. Just I don't know.
When did it
great
start?
Question.
So is that something you've always had, like from forever, or is it like something that you acquired along the way? Was there a moment?
What about you?
I think, and I'm like speaking for Ash too, because I think I know her well enough.
You too.
That I feel like it's something that's innate in like everyone or a lot of people, to have that just like curiosity, that drive for learning, that like wanting just to keep doing better and being better. And I feel like you're like that. Like, I mean, not a lot of people know this, but not only did she cheer for the Bucks, she cheered for like four professional organizations. Like, if that's not a drive to like, just do something big and always striving to be better, I don't know what is. And then just starting next path, just like stepping away from our day jobs and like taking that risk to start a new company, and then starting the podcast, just putting ourselves out there. Like, I feel like it's just always that drive to grow. And like, same as you, I'm not watching Netflix at night or staying like TikTok and all those things that, what's trending right now, but I'm reading and I'm, wanting to learn, wanting to grow. So I feel like it's just innate, and I think that you're the same way, Ash.
Thanks. That was so sweet. Yeah, and I guess a couple of our episodes, we talk about just how to better yourselves, how to just do one thing each day better, or how to just improve, right? So yeah, I guess it's just completely innate. And
well, there's a couple people that see people putting themselves out there into the marketplace, so to speak. What is the ratio of people that need to be coached on that or don't understand that, and the people that just get it?
I'd love to really know, like really understand that true ratio, because there is definitely, you can tell when you talk to enough people over the decades that we've been doing recruitment, there's definitely you can see it and hear it when you talk to someone, if they have it or if they don't.
Mm-hmm. And I think we all need coaches, in some way or another, or mentors. But I feel like there's some people that are just born with that entrepreneurial mindset, that maybe they just like get it a little easier than others, or quicker, or maybe they do the research behind it, and they just have that they're always learning about new stuff. But I feel like most of us need to be coached and, have that kind of help along the way. I don't know if that answered your question. But
Maybe it's like
what's your gut feeling? Like, is it about half and half? Like, depending on obviously what you're recruiting for.
right.
But you're actually talking to people about, well, how did you learn about this? Maybe it's IT related. Like, well, how did you learn about your A+ certification? And some people are going to go, well, my first job sent me to a class. And some people are going to be like, hey, this seemed like something cool. And so I picked up the book myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably a good 50-50, but depending on the role that you're looking for, right? Because there's some roles that you just have to have that innate drive, like sales, for example. And there's not all salespeople have that drive in them, right? So yeah, I think it would depend on what it is, the role, for sure.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think maybe a good tip for that, if you're trying to have that drive and that curiosity, is, don't worry about how you're viewed or what others will think. If you're passionate about it, just do it. Just try. Take one step towards it. That always helps.
That's great advice. That's really great advice. And then how much courage do you need for that? Like, what is something that could help somebody get off the couch or just take that very first step?
Well, you never want to have any regrets. And if you look back one day and wish you would have done something different, you just don't want to have those regrets. So I would say if there's something in your mind that's kind of staying on you to do something, just do it and just take that first step. It may seem like the end goal may seem a long ways away, but just take those little baby steps. First, get off the couch and research some certifications to take or apply for that job or whatever it may be. Just take that first step. And with those baby steps, hopefully you're able to achieve that big end goal in the end, but just take one step at a time.
Yeah, I mean, if you never get off the couch, you're always going to fail. You're going to fail at everything because you never try.
And you're guaranteed to fail anyway.
Yeah.
No one's perfect the first time they try anything.
Right, right. And I was just looking at one of my new friends that I met through one of our female networking dinners that we have. She received an award for her entrepreneurship, and her caption, she's going to know that this is about her when she hears this, but her caption was, "It only took me 18 years to seem like a sudden success."
Yeah.
So like Steph was saying, just take that step, just take a little step every day and you're going to get there.
Yeah, that's really great advice. One of the things you guys have talked about is your athletic pursuits. Obviously there's a charitable component to being a professional cheerleader. I only learned a few years ago that from what I understand, the pay is very small or not at all.
Oh yeah, that's like a whole nother subject,
right?
Cordes. Yeah.
But it's there's something about collegiate athletics, people who are athletes, about doing these things, about continuing to drive, because the difference between a high school athlete and a college athlete and a professional athlete, a lot of it comes down to drive, because there's tons of very, very talented, physically talented people. What do you guys see in the employment industry? Are there any correlations to athletics and to other types of pursuits that you guys see basically correlate to success?
I couldn't shake my head yes hard enough on that answer.
Yeah. We have clients that ask us all the time, if they were a college athlete or, anything above that, we want to talk to them, because it's so important. It's hard to be an athlete, like a college athlete, and at a higher level, because the amount of time and hard work that goes into it is not easy. And if they're going to put that much energy towards, something, then they're going to be that way in their career as well. So I feel like just the hard work, the dedication, the teamwork, so many things that go into sports correlates into, the business world and in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Time management, just overall balance of life, right? And learning how to do that. I feel like when we got into the NFL for cheerleading, even though we were in our 20s and we had already experienced college and maybe dancing for other teams, I think a lot of our success I have to give towards our cheerleading manager. I know you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. She was on us about everything. If you were on time, you were late. You had to be 15 minutes early. That meant you were on time. We had emergency kits galore. I mean, anything you would need in an emergency, we had. We had backups for everything. So many little tiny things about our uniform that you had to remember, which I know sounds silly articulating that now, but when you have all these pieces that you have to make sure that you have a checklist and you have it all with you and you have backups to that, it all really culminates into being prepared, being successful, and just being ready for anything.
Those are great habits. It might even lead you to bring like a notepad to a podcast.
Like this.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, you also see the correlation with the athletics.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Especially for
else like
sales.
that?
I think more specifically sales. I feel like a lot of our hiring leaders are like, "Hey, we want someone that's been in a team sport for
Right.
sure. Let us know about that."
For me, handling adversity is like one of the biggest things because there are things that are going to just come out of left field. Things are going to challenge you. Things are going to change. And if you don't know how to deal with adversity, or if it shakes you up too much, like you might not be the right person for the team.
That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you could have had a great successful game. I'm thinking football right now in my head. You could have had so many tackles, or you could have had an interception or whatever, made touchdowns, and you could have had a great game by yourself. And as a team, you might have lost. And you have to learn how to deal with that and be okay with that. Or, maybe you were the one who caused the loss, but you have to learn from that, right? Figure it out, fall forward, fail forward, right? And pick yourself up. It's all about how you pick yourself up and keep going.
So both of you are very active in the community, in our business community. And like you mentioned, you are involved in different women's leadership groups and other places where you guys are putting yourself out there all the time and basically, like, in a lot of ways, providing a great example for young ladies and other people who just are interested. You don't have to be young ladies, but you're putting yourself out there in a way and excelling at business. Have you guys, do you ever think about that, like the impact you're making?
I think whenever you're in the middle of it, it's hard to realize the impact that you're making. And I hope one day I'm able to look back and see that. But I do. I was recently speaking at a high school of girls and just sharing. It was a panel of 3 of us, and just sharing, as women, how we made it in the business world and what we do to balance our lives and all that. And I hope that one of them took something out of that, like even just one person. But I think it's whenever you're in the middle of it, you don't really see it. And hopefully one day you can look back and realize. Yeah.
I think when we were cheerleading, that was in the forefront of our minds because we were doing a lot of work in the uniform, right? So you had to be on, and it really taught you how to handle situations like that and how to be a leader and positively impact the community. But I feel like now, as we're in this middle stage, right, as we're leaders in the community, and I don't think about it anymore. It just kind of is natural when you have a meeting, you're on. When you're out in the community, you're just on. You're your own brand, your next path, you're live bold and boss up, you're all of the things. You're the community. Yeah.
How do you guys look at leadership? I mean, because that, to me, it's one of the things that I'm most passionate about, of trying to understand what it is and how to do it. And because it parts of it can come very naturally, but other parts of it have to be really deliberate. I have to even check myself, emotionally. If I'm in the moment, I might be shook up about something or, just rattled. Like, for me, leadership is understanding, like, hey, you might be a little emotional right now. Why don't you just chill out, give it a minute but ultimately for me, leadership is how do you go out and get done the things with others in a way that they also want to get them done with you. Mm-hmm. And so that's always, I think it's going to be a lifelong pursuit.
For sure. I've been trying to be present in every meeting and not worry about the next meeting or the other things that I really have to do. Like, bottom line, I have to, bring in X amount, right? I just try to be in the moment, in the meeting, really connect with the person. I've noticed that people can feel that and notice that and try to take all the time and connect there. And I know that sounds maybe simple or easy, but I've just noticed sometimes, you start thinking about the next things that you have to do in a current meeting, and that just totally pulls you away and doesn't really...
Like, how does that make the other person feel?
Right.
I think leadership is about putting other people first. It's not about, the title or a certain level. It's about putting other people first and, like you said, being present and, just being your best, doing your best, setting an example for others. And it doesn't matter what your title is or, how much money you make. It's about, being there and helping others.
And allowing your employees to just do what they do best. Right. Maybe getting out of their way or maybe blocking and tackling for them so that they can do what they need to do.
I agree.
Since we're talking about football.
Cordes, what do you think leadership is, or what's your idea of it?
So my first experience with leadership, like outside of athletics, was when the place I worked at 15 years ago, they said, Cordes, we're going to send you to Dale Carnegie. And I was like, give me a break. I've been the captain of every team I've ever been on, like I was a gifted athlete at the time, like a few years earlier. And so I was like, I know what leadership is. I just lead by example, go out there and score or whatever you're going to do. And then, and I was like, whatever, I'll go to the class, And I was there and I was my normal class clown self for about the first 3 classes. And, but about the second class, I was like, you know what? Yes, this is all stuff my grandmother told me when I was 7 or 5 or whatever, but I'm going to try to apply some of it. So I applied it at home and I applied it at the office, and I was like, instantly, like, relationships improved. Little things like smiling when, like, maybe you're having a rough day, but go ahead and smile, because the other person might think that they screwed up or did something. But if you smile, it's kind of like when you're looking, like, dogs can't fake their feelings, And so, like, a dog that's all like this with a razor back and, like, their ears pinned back, you're not going to screw with that. Same thing that happens when you look all, angry and whatever. And so being approachable, like, comes, like, is downstream from just smiling. So just might as well smile and you'll be approachable. And so people bring you their problems, and it begets a lot of the other things that come downstream from leadership. But little things like that, for example, like, don't criticize people, don't condemn them, because the minute that they walk away from the conversation, well, what do they? And you're talking to somebody else, what do they think that you're talking about? They probably think you just badmouth somebody to them.
Right.
So now they think that you might be talking about them, and so there's about 30 different rules that they have, and I would try them and be like, wow, my life is better. And it's like, if it wasn't for that education at 30 years old, there's no way I could be an entrepreneur and have as many people that I work with and all of those things. There's just no way I could ever do it, because nobody would want to work with me because I was a smart ass jerk, And so, like, to be honest, like, I really was. And
I don't see you ever like that.
Yeah,
that's
no,
why
I was,
laughed, 'cause I'm like,
I would get frustrated if somebody didn't pick up something as fast or whatever, and then I might like throw somebody under the bus in a meeting or whatever because I was angry or emotional, and it's just on this side of it, it's clear as day. While like I had some of the career challenges I did, I mean, I was making money and all of those things back in the day, but like, being on teams wasn't always as successful. I was like, I'll just do it myself. It's like, that's not leadership. And so leadership is really, like one of the things I'm most proud of is creating an environment that hopefully people want to come to work, people want to be creative, can be creative, because if they feel, pressure on top of them from something I'm doing, like they can't relax and do what they need to do, to help our clients. Mm-hmm. So at its core level, that's what I think leadership is. And it's something you have to work on all the time. Like, how do you keep your emotions in check? How do you make other people feel really important and all those things, even when you're having a bad day.
Right. Yeah. I am definitely going to look that up and refresh myself on that because you have it on your wall and you just mentioned it here. So I'm like, okay, if I had a pen, which is in my purse, I'll be writing it down, look at it later.
Yeah. But anyhow, for me, it made a big difference. And so for the first 8 years of this business, I sent 100% of our employees to that class. That changed my life. And it was a lot of money, but it
was worth
some of them really appreciated it and got it.
Nice, I like that.
So
it's great.
So what's next for you guys? What are you working on right now?
Oh gosh, take that.
Ooh, well,
you have this, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot. We're always, trying to think of new ideas. But with the AI piece, as we talked before, just being on the forefront of technology, how can we grow our business or just provide a better service even to our candidates and clients by being, experts in that area, because that's the way everything's going. So let's embrace it. So that's one thing that we're working on with Next Path. And then with the podcast, we haven't talked about AI too much with that, but we definitely.
I know a guy, if you guys want to do an episode on that.
Oh, yeah?
Mm.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. Trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
That's how I do sales.
I love it.
Just focus on being helpful. Everything else works out.
Yeah. So I think that's the main thing for us. And, just we're getting ready to move into a new office. So just, keeping that culture that we've built, trying to make it a fun place to work and growing the podcast and just, trying to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so last question about your career, Next Path. You guys are an elite group of, badasses. How do you guys evaluate people looking to join your team? How do you know that they have what it takes to be a Next Path person?
That's a great question. It's really, of course it's skill, right? Certain skills depending on the position. That's obvious. But for us, it's more, and I hate to use the actual word culture, but it's really about what's their drive? What kind of a person are you, right? What's your motivation? Does it fit with what we are doing and where we want to go? Because we want them on board if their trajectory is the same as ours. It's to give you more of a tangible thing, it's really more of maybe that passion in someone, that curiosity.
So as expert interviewers, how do you ask these questions? What questions are you asking to get at these answers?
I don't really have a specific question. I think
it's...
Go ahead.
I was going to say just being around them and their energy and getting to know them more personally than, what have you done in your last job? It's like, what do you like to do outside of work? What do you like to do in your free time? How do you always keep learning and growing? All those things that, not necessarily have to do with your work, but how you are as a person. I think those are the questions I like to get into.
You just reminded me of our first interview with Kelly, our first employee. I almost started laughing because we must have asked her several different ways, like, well, what do you like to do in your free time? And she was like, why do they want to know what I'm doing in my free time? Like, what is this? And it was just such a funny conversation that kind of rolled out of it. And
She was
great.
trying to come up with a different answer because we each asked her just in a different way, and it was like a different thing for every single person that asked.
That was great.
It was funny.
It was so fun.
Like, is it swimming or horseback riding? What are they
Yeah.
going to hear from me?
Right.
You know,
What
it's
do they want to know?
And is it bad if I like horseback riding? Or do they like it? You know,
know,
it's
right,
really funny to see their reaction. But I think that's totally right. It's such a feeling or a vibe, which I know is not tangible, but it's a real thing, and just get to know the person.
Maybe that's why you guys are more successful than most.
I don't know.
Being
I don't
able
know.
to have that temperature, that thermometer, that vibe thermometer.
Right.
So,
What about you?
gosh, I mean, I'm a lot of it is I'm asking questions about, like I'll ask questions, like if I see if they've worked at a lot of jobs, I'll directly ask them. It's like, hey, just red flag. Like, one thing concerns me is you look like you've hopped around a lot. Like, I would like to I throw them that question because it's a little bit of a challenge to answer that and see how they deal with it. Because I know if they can answer questions like that in a way that seems authentic and it makes logical sense, and it also shows that they've also can like deal with adversity, then they're scoring with me, right? And I'm going, okay, this person can talk to our clients,
Right.
you know. So questions like that, I try to give context of like why I'm asking the question to help them come up with a good answer, but I do like to challenge them and like, so tell me, like about some adversity you dealt with at your last job and how you dealt with it. There's some boilerplate ones like that.
Nice.
Where mainly what I try to do is just listen and come up with follow-up questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are important as well.
Do you have like a main question that you ask everyone?
I don't. In fact, I've only done a few interviews over the last couple of years. I've delegated most of it.
Good.
And so a lot of times when we have new employees these days, I might, I meet them on their first day. So, I mean, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but the goal is I want my team to pick people that they want to work with.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. If they're going to be working with them all day,
Yeah.
why should you be the one to say yes or no, right?
It's tough because, like, in a meeting, like if I have an idea or something, I mean, I guess it's just natural. I mean, of course, like certain teams, are like more courageous than others, but like a lot of times, like if I have an idea or something and I want to bring it up in a meeting, like everybody else just like stops talking, and like I appreciate the respect, but I don't want to stifle creativity.
Right.
And because I don't always have the best ideas. I just have like an idea and I'm stupid enough to bring it up, and a lot of times I go, I have a dumb question, it's like, let me ask you this, would you do this? But yeah, like that's my goal. It's like, hopefully I don't really have to do any interviews, but I might amend that a little bit. I want to make sure like I get that vibe. I want to get that culture check, like let's find the down to the final two, and then let me help make that last pick based
Right.
off of culture fit.
I mean, has it been successful for you to let them interview and pick, and then?
I mean, I would say like you guys measure success based off of turnover, I would imagine. So like on that KPI, we don't have a lot, it kind of comes in spurts sometimes, but for the most part, we don't have a lot of turnover. And, when we've done engagement studies, for the most part, everybody's like digs and vibes with the company culture. Like recently, I would say one of the biggest accomplishments of my career has been a gentleman who had an agency that worked directly, like with the same kinds of clients and the same kinds of ways. So like almost like in my mind was a direct competitor. I've been fortunate enough to now like they're working with me, after they sold their agency a couple of years ago, and I'm just like, wow, that feels so good to know that like here's somebody that like we'd actually bid on against each other on a couple things or whatever, and he might have won or I might have won, but it's like now like we're teammates, and it's like to me that's just makes me feel so good.
Yeah, that says a lot.
So, well, ladies, where can people find the Live Bold and Boss Up podcast?
On all major platforms. Apple Podcast seems to be the most popular, but we're on Spotify, we're on
Stitcher.
All kinds of ones. Google has one now.
We have a YouTube channel that you can watch us on.
Mm-hmm.
And what about, like, where can they follow you, like, in your personal achievements and what you're doing at NextPath?
Yeah, well, on our NextPath website, we keep it updated with pictures and updates and all that kind of stuff on there. And then our link to our podcast is on our website as well at nextpathcp.com. And then, of course, we have social media, Live Bold and Boss Up, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can find us on all those
YouTube,
platforms.
yeah, all that fun stuff.
You guys are everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We try.
That's great. And you can find us and the Law of Relevancy podcast anywhere where podcasts are found, on the Bake More Pies social feeds as well as the Law of Relevancy social feeds. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Thank y'all for joining us.
Thank
you.
This has been fun.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode. We hate ending them. They're so fun to record, but lots of boss bites there.
As always, please like, subscribe, and rate us.
You can email us as well at liveboldandbossup@gmail.com. And don't be afraid to connect with us. Feel free to swipe up, DM us, hit us up. We want to hear from you. It always makes it fun and enjoyable, making sure that you get the content you want.
And until next time,
Live bold and boss up.